The year is 2020. The world is in a dire situation that even to this time of the video being released, we're still feeling the impact from. I remember this time being very hard on me. I was in a very awful abusive relationship and also in the worst mental state of my life. Overall, I don't look back on this time fondly. I do remember though being excited for a game that would help pass the time I needed. Since at the time, my ex had me move out of the house we were both renting because she told me she needed time alone to work on her past PTSD issues. I was staying at a friend's place, excited as the days came closer for that March 20th release date. This was going to be my second dive into the series and one I remember enjoying fondly, hoping that this game would be the time waster I needed for my sanity. I think now it's a good time to talk about what game I'm referring to. That game is none other than New Horizons has been out for a little over 2 years now. People's experiences are mixed on the game, and overall this seems to be the most controversial game in the series. Again, you may be wondering why if you're not fully familiar with this game or the series as a whole. Well, this video's point is to help educate why and also share my personal experiences with the game and what impact it had on my life. I'll be going over the updates, the controversies, and the community as a whole. I'll try to make sure I hit every point needed, but I'll also keep everything as compact and short as possible just to make this video not drag out. Without further ado, let's dive into the world of New Horizons and what my experiences are with the game. Back in 2018, we had a trailer finally announcing we would even be getting a mainline game, with Tom here telling us about it. This was big news since the last system game we got was Amiibo Festival, which I still haven't played. Overall, the hype for this was real, and we haven't even gotten gameplay. Being said to release in 2019, people even in the comments on the YouTube video are sharing their excitement about the series and the new game coming out. So it's easy to say that everybody is ready for another entry after all this time. Then, fast forward to 2019 in June, this trailer dropped.
Your attention, please. The Nook Inc. Getaway Package charter flight will soon be arriving at the deserted island.
This trailer drops, showing us the game we've been waiting for all this time, but with a more tropical feel. One of the biggest changes overall was the fact we could craft now, making the ideas and possibilities of what things can be crafted come into our minds. Most of the trailer after that shows the villager doing random stuff that is normally in past games until a vaulting pole and path building is shown. In previous Animal Crossing games, you never had a choice on your path or how it looked, so this was already a big change for creativity for the player. The final shot shows a bunch of villagers running together, showing us that we can now have up to 8 players for multiplayer. As excitement can be felt from this trailer, text below the logo slowly fades in. It states the new release date, March 20th, 2020. A big slap in the face. Fans would have to wait around 9 months before they could get the game they were craving for. This really was a letdown for some, but for me, I was kind of glad about the delay. There were many things in this trailer I did feel needed improving on, and I did let my opinions known, and that's when I learned just how bad that was to do. What are my opinions on this though? Well, I'll tell you. One of the biggest issues with this trailer so far was how lifeless the environment looked. The grass was the biggest one, whereas in past games, the grass was stylized and looked like it was supposed to be there. In this trailer, the grass looked more like carpet and flat. It did have some patches of patterns just like in the old games, but that actually made it look even worse. One of the little details I loved in the old games was how grass would hang off ledges, making it look overgrown. And this, the grass didn't do that, which is why it looks more like fake grass or carpet. I didn't feel like I was looking at a real life island that's deserted and we're rebuilding it. It just didn't give me that vibe at all. While yes, there's weeds and other stuff to simulate the island is overgrown, it again just felt like everything was placed there and not grown naturally. The lighting also feels as if they just learned what bloom was, and it makes everything seem more plastic. Nighttime seems fine, but the camera is also pointed straight down, so there's not much for me to work with. What I feel they were maybe trying to go for was to show the island is hot and give it this mirage looking effect, kind of like in Mario Sunshine, but that game did it way better. I also wasn't fully sold on everything, since what we were shown just seemed like here's our idea we have, but not this is how we want our ideas to work. Two of the biggest new additions were shown only once in the trailer, and for maybe less than 5 seconds each. This just seems like Nintendo either didn't have the new stuff in enough playable state to show off, or Nintendo wasn't really confident in what they were even showing us. This trailer is just overall confusing for what is and isn't actually in the game. I watched reactions of people seeing the trailer, and they legit were thinking things were in the game that weren't even in the game.
Yes! Oh my god, I can hang my laundry!
This is pretty. Should I craft some? What is this? Is this Animal Crossing or is this like Amiibo Festival 2? Is this a mainline Animal Crossing game?
I can make an axe? Holy shit! Oh my god, did you guys see all the different ores and shit? Oh my god, what is going on? Oh my god, you can take your shoes off over there?
Wow,
Ooh.
you can do a lot.
Holy crap.
Oh my god, what the fuck was that? Holy shit, what is going on?
The fact people questioned if this was even a mainline game and lost their minds over the idea that you maybe could take your shoes off and place them is insane. They also had some items show up in the trailer that you can craft, but it made people think that certain aspects like hanging your clothes outside to dry were in the game. This trailer really makes no sense of why they didn't go full in on the crafting and path building. As said before, there were many items in the trailer that are craftable items, and it showed many clips of you gathering resources to make said items. It's just, again, as I said before, feels like Nintendo just didn't have anything really worth showing off, or didn't feel confident to show the main stuff off. This really was, looking back on it, a pretty meh trailer, even if the reactioners say otherwise. At the same time, when the last game you have to work with is a spin-off no one liked, I can see anything looking amazing in comparison, and probably why some of these people's reactions are like if they saw tits for the first time.
Oh my god!
Oh my lord.
Oh!
Oh my
I am playing the heck out of this, man. Nintendo, where's my
We did later on get some actual gameplay at E3 where everything just looked pretty slow. Overall, you could really tell this game still needed to work and that maybe 9 months wouldn't be enough, and what they did show off was pretty mundane. It didn't stop a lot of people from losing their minds over this game, which is why I started to surround myself with the community, because why not? People were just as excited as me, so I should join in on the fun. I decided to join an Animal Crossing group to talk with others about the trailer and give my opinions on it. I basically said everything I said before, and how I do hope things improve, just to be met with "who hurt you" or "you just don't like fun." It got to the point that the admins of the group made a public post in the group to respond to their DM about me, causing drama, and that if I continued, I would be banned. I responded by just telling them to ban me and fuck off. If me giving my opinions, but being open about how the game could change, is starting drama, then I can already tell how bad this community was going to be, but oh boy, was I not ready for how bad things could get. Overall, we would have to wait 9 months with a few small trailers and stuff during that time, but again, the world in my life had bigger issues to face as the months approached. We soon had a full direct in February 2020 showing off the game. This whole direct got a lot of people excited, and again, you could tell they really fixed some of the stuff from the last trailer. This made my excitement shoot through the roof. We were even getting a custom Animal Crossing Switch for a release. These were so hard to find at launch, but now I can legit go to a store right now and get one. I will say though, it really did seem like Nintendo was ready to go all in for this game and its series. Even the mobile app got some special items from New Horizons, but as if I just had the worst luck ever, things started to get worse for me in my personal life. Fast forward to March. My ex and I at the time broke up because she told me she was dealing with past trauma and she wanted to deal with it alone without putting all the pressure on me, but that we would still be together once she felt better. She wanted me to leave for a while so she could have the alone time she needed, and obviously wanting to help her with this, I agreed and decided to go stay with my friend in the same town for a few months. Well, that same night we broke up, my first guinea pig S'mores died. Losing two things I loved dearly at the time hit me like a fucking truck. It really was bad because I remember just feeling this sense of emptiness that didn't really go away for a while. My car at the time also broke down, and I ended up helping her get a car under my name because her credit was bad, but she would keep the car for work while I basically had no way to work anymore during that time. It really just felt like the world was just messing with me, but I kept carrying on through it all, knowing soon the release of Animal Crossing was almost here. I remember being excited because I knew this game could last me the time I needed during this break with my ex, and hopefully be enough distraction from the sadness I was feeling at the time. This was also when the virus was hitting pretty hard in the area we were in, and rumors of it getting worse were popping up all over the place. That's why it was weird to hear the day I placed my pre-order for the game. I even remember selling some of my other games to GameStop to pay for this pre-order, and then walking all the way back to my friend's house. On the way back though, I get a call from GameStop telling me that the game is getting released that day to people who pre-ordered and to come pick it up. I couldn't believe it, so I hurried over to GameStop and I got my copy, and just like a child again, I was ready to dive into the world of New Horizons. If only I knew though just how deep this pool was going to get. Before we get into New Horizons, I want to talk about the game Amiibo Festival. I feel if I don't give this game its own little segment, the impact of why this game was so important to people won't really stick. Even though I never played Amiibo Festival, I do know people that did who were very against it. The backlash came mostly from people having to wait 3 years just to not get a mainline game, but a party game that required Amiibos to play. What also got people more upset was the fact before this game was even announced, we got Animal Crossing Plaza on the same system. This showed off the characters in HD, and seeing these new models made people go, yep, new game is coming, I know it. With the Amiibo craze at an all-time high, they announced Animal Crossing Amiibo cards alongside a spin-off 3DS game. This was a big deal to people because it showed Nintendo was ready to support Animal Crossing again, and the fact that they got their spin-off out of the way for the 3DS meant, why would they not make a mainline game? They have the models ready to go, the consumers have their wallets ready to go. It's just 100% certain at this point. Animal Crossing amiibo figures get leaked, and then we get shown at E3 2015, the trailer we've all been waiting for. It's finally happening. The amiibo figure of Isabelle gets lowered down onto the Wii U, and the world goes nuts. It's here, the Wii U Animal Crossing game we dreamed of. The trailer continues as it shows our friends we love and cherish, showing the map as some villagers are just walking around. I can't believe it. Throughout the trailer though, there's these weird shapes scattered in a path around the island. And what are these, you may ask? Well, the screen fades to black to show us that the Animal Crossing Wii U game we waited so long for is a party game. Now, why was this made? Well, the devs wanted a reason for Animal Crossing amiibos. They had the HD models from Plaza, and amiibos were at an all-time high, so it just made sense. This sadly means we probably were never going to get a mainline game on the Wii U. What's even worse is not every Animal Crossing amiibo will work with this game, mostly the cards being the issue because they are only used for the minigame section in this game, meaning that the figures are the main selling point for this. What's even funnier is when this game first came out, they had a limited print with 2 figures with the game. To this day, you can still find this bundle. I don't think Nintendo ever got this bundle out of circulation because this game just sold so badly. Players hated this game because it was mostly RNG for the puzzle parts, slow, and felt similar for all the boards, and there's 12 of them, and they all feel similar. And just overall, didn't feel like it was needed to even exist. That being said, I'm going to have a good friend of mine give his experience with Amiibo Festival since he actually played it and liked it.
Before my buddy passed away from cancer and stuff, sadly, he would buy all this stuff, right? He'd buy all this kind of shit. So he's like, oh, I got this Amiibo Festival game. Everybody hates it. But I really wanted to try it. So would you want to play with me? And I said, sure. I like giving Animal Crossing things a chance. Boot it up, have the calendar months, essentially. So it'll tell you, because the game, instead of picking a certain amount of turns, you literally just go through a whole calendar. That's what the game was. I think we played 4 or 5 games. I don't remember the exact number. I remember sitting and playing at my TV here, and you place the amiibo on the thing to spin the dice, and then there was turnip spaces and stuff because you wanted to make bills by selling the turnips and everything. It was not like Mario Party. People keep thinking it's Mario Party. It just looks like a Mario Party. Overall, I think from what we played, we generally liked. It was I don't know, I think games took 30 minutes or 20 minutes or something. I don't remember it being too long. But it's not something that I would sit here and be like, all right, we're going to play this for 3 hours. You just don't do that. You know what I mean? I guarantee you, if you go out and buy it and you play a round with your friend, you'd be like, wow, that actually wasn't that bad of an experience. It's not a crazy experience. It's not something that you would be like, damn, I can't wait to go back and play this. It would just be like, hey, you want to play a round of this fast? It's different than Mario Party because Mario Party takes a bazillion years to finish a goddamn match. And this is just mad quick because it's only 1 month. Yeah, the main reason I think that nobody even supported it, nobody bought it, was because of spite that we didn't get a mainline game on the Wii U. Because I'm surprised you remember Plaza. That was that Wii U app.
Yeah.
It was limited time only.
It was a Miiverse for Animal Crossing, basically.
Yeah, I downloaded it, and I'm like, wow, am I the only person who got it? I was the only person who got it, because everyone was like, whoa, what app is it? And I realized they removed it off the eShop. I genuinely think that if they released a mainline Animal Crossing title on Wii U, and then released Amiibo Festival as well, people would have been way more welcome to it. Let's say if we got a Wii U title, and yeah, people would be way more welcome to it, and they probably would have bought it more, and they probably would have been like, hey, this game's not that bad, but obviously the mainline Animal Crossing entry is better, but it's also something fun to move. So I think that is what happened with Amiibo. Amiibo Festival was so released at the bad time. I guarantee you, if they probably would have released, if they would have saved Amiibo Festival and waited to release it, let's say after New Horizons, it probably would have sold a million copies. Because I'm sure that there's YouTubers who are this game is actually genuinely bad, but like they're thinking of it in that perspective. If I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna assume that that's their perspective, where they're like, we should have gotten a mainline title instead of this. Why did we get this stupid game that I didn't want? But I think that's what people think about it when they go into like reviewing it and stuff, because I guarantee you they're gonna be like, I'm not biased, I'm not anything, but they have that already in their head, and that's the way that they're gonna like think about it, because I'm not disagreeing with them either. I feel like it's completely justified to not support that game out of spite, because we should have gotten a mainline title, because I wanted a mainline title. Everybody. But we didn't get one. We got Amiibo Festival. But it doesn't mean Amiibo Festival's bad in any way. It's just a generic, simplified party game that's fun for maybe like 2 or 3 rounds.
I arrived back at my friend's house and started to load this game up. As I finally heard that sweet title screen music hit me, I knew it was time. And at the time, I really, really loved this song. Now it's pretty okay. I think the other games have better opening music, but this is fine. I also noticed the lighting looked way better, and the ground did have a more stylized look to it, even if not to the extent of the past games. It really did look like they did work to fix some of the past weird looking issues though. I even remembered enjoying the whole crafting aspect more than I thought I would, and meeting the 2 new villagers was really cool, but I did notice something that first day pretty fast. I ended up getting to the point where I couldn't really do anything but wait to make any progress. In the first day alone, not even that long, I ran out of things to do until tomorrow. Meaning all I did for the rest of the day was sell stuff and walk around to pick up weeds, which later on screwed me because I sold them all and didn't have weeds to access for crafting recipes. I also understand Animal Crossing will have waiting in it, but usually during these times of waiting, there's still things to do. Here, there really wasn't. Every time I noticed, each day would give me around a few things to do, and then once I was done, the progress just stopped till tomorrow. It really started to get kind of annoying. At the time, I firmly believed not time traveling in the game, but now, I stand by, you have to if you want to have any fun getting past this slow early game. This slow early game section, before the game actually opens up to you, can take up to 2 to 3 weeks. It's really not all that fun, since most of it is getting resources to then wait a day for them to build something to then get more resources to do the same thing. What's also annoying is that when you're building the museum, you can't send any more fish or insects or anything till it's built, meaning you will just end up putting a bunch of fish or insects everywhere waiting for the museum to open up. It really is so boring having to wait as long as you do, and I also realized how a lot of the crafting items are just pretty boring. Also, crafting? It's very tedious and slow. You can mash A to craft faster, but this doesn't fix the main issue for crafting. The fact you can only multi-craft fences and not bait or smaller things is baffling. This just makes having to do a lot of the early game missions so slow, because the main way to get what you need to do these missions is also slow. One of the worst early game missions though is having to get iron for Tom. You do this to build the store, and he needs 30 of them plus 30 of each type of wood in the game. The wood really isn't the biggest issue, but the iron on the other hand is. He makes you get a huge amount of iron that if you did it without time traveling or going to Mystery Islands, this could take more than a day or 2 to do, since they spawn at random and random amounts. For you to get all the iron you need in one go, each rock would have to spawn 5 each. This part is so bad when I stream this game. I just had a friend come drop me off the amount I needed to progress faster. It's crazy just how slow paced the early game is, and you also have to listen to the same song during this whole time. In past games, you always had different music every hour. In New Horizons, you don't actually get the songs till you build your town hall, which again, can take weeks to do depending on how fast you can progress. So I hope you like hearing this for 2 to 3 weeks. So I just learned the prologue song apparently has 7 different versions, and each of them is representing a phase you are into the progress of the game to like get to the ability to create and everything. I didn't know this, but the song has 7 different versions. They're still basically the same, just slightly different for some things. So I don't know what to say about the song. The fact that I didn't notice that really speaks volumes to how repetitive this song is. So I don't know. But I will go ahead and play all 7 versions of them for you, like little snippets. I just learned that post-editing right now, so I just wanted to share that. Animal Crossing also decided to just let your tools break. I really am not a fan of breaking equipment in games. I've just never enjoyed it. Most tools you build early game are going to be absolute garbage, which is fine. I don't expect amazing tools right off the bat, but the issue is to get these better tools, most require iron, which is also a hard to find resource in large amounts and is needed in large quantities to use for Tom. They don't take a lot of iron, but if you're needing to collect iron, you're going to just have to suck it up and keep using the tools that break constantly. It's also weird that later in the game, you get the option to color your tools or buy special versions of said tools that also break. It just makes me not want to use those versions of the tools since I will lose them. Granted, by changing the color of your tool, you do reset its use counter, but that isn't a full fix for this tedious breaking mechanic. Even gold tools, the tools you work so hard for, can also break, so that's neat. I also see this being compared a lot to how Breath of the Wild has breaking weapons in the game, but those are used entirely for different reasons. In Breath of the Wild, the sword and stuffs break so the player will experiment with other weapons and think on the fly to what weapons would work better in the situation you're in. Obviously, the better weapons would be faster, but then you're running the risk of when it's a tougher fight not having these more powerful weapons. You get the player to constantly observe fights and situations more and decide what's the best equipment for said situation. In Animal Crossing, when I see a rock and I want ore, I don't go, man, what shovel should I use? Because each shovel is the same, and when it breaks, I'm not looking for another shovel that's unique. Even in Breath of the Wild, when your sword breaks, you don't usually have to go far to find another weapon. In Animal Crossing, when something breaks, it can be tedious to the point of you making other tools to get the tool you actually needed because of the materials some require. If you don't just have materials on you at all times and a crafting table nearby, then you're wasting time just to get back to what you were doing. It's why I just carry multiple of the same tools to avoid this, meaning I'm wasting inventory slots for the tools and the extra materials. This game ends up being a bigger grind fest when needing materials for crafting while grinding for fish, insects, and bells. It no longer feels like I'm living on this island with everyone, but managing the island so everyone else can live happily. This never feels like an island getaway for yourself, since you're doing everything to make it feel that way for others. Once you get everything built to make it feel like a place you can live at, the reward for doing all this tedious grinding is getting the ability to decorate your island how you want. You can terraform land, add rivers, or whatever. The island is yours to change how you want. Many times I would go to rid or add ground and have it do it in the wrong place. This is a weird issue since most games like this have some type of fix, like a dot or square to just show you where you'll be hitting. Even a very small white or red dot would have done the trick if you didn't want to be that intrusive to ruining the immersion. You could even have made it into gameplay somehow by giving our villager special safety glasses that had AR tech to see things like that, so you could even give gameplay reason to the dot. I mean, they have cell phones, why not have more tech in the game? Even the house has a better way to move stuff around inside or place down. They easily could have taken this same concept and made it easier to terraform instead of doing it one at a time. I do like the terraforming and it does work, but it's slow and can sometimes be cumbersome to use because there's not always a good indication where you'll hit. I also hope you placed your museum and other villagers' homes where you wanted them to be before you decorate your island, because if not, get ready for more tedious waiting. This will always take a full day to move the buildings where you want them to go, no matter what it is. You can also only do one at a time. Need to move a house but want to build another as well? Sorry, it's one or the other. This can make building your town a nightmare and so slow. I get not being able to move 2 houses and why it takes a day, but why can't I have a house being moved while building another or something else? Any island changes from inclines or bridges have to be done one at a time, and yeah, you better be ready to give all the money for it. Villagers sometimes donate bells to help you, but it's such a small amount it doesn't really matter. It really seems like Nintendo wanted this to be one of the most creative and free Animal Crossing experiences, but it ends up feeling like the most lacking and tedious game I've ever played. It's a good reason why a lot of things that try to be too creative usually fail. You end up asking the player to be as creative and out of the box thinking because that's the only real way to get the fun out of this game. Funny enough, it's why MySpace of all things failed at the time. The amount of creativity MySpace had versus its competitors having a more formulaic way of doing things made it easier for people who didn't want to spend hours making their profile be as unique as possible, and that's why people ended up flocking to these. It's also why a lot of things seem more toned down than before. A great example is how the grass in old games would hang off the ledges. But in this, they don't. It's because if Nintendo did this, they would have had to make all ledges have grass hang off, or have a certain piece of land you select that had grass hanging off, which again adds more tedium to the creativity aspect on top of the tedious execution for the terraforming. This game at the end of the day is for kids, and when you overwhelm a child, they usually will just leave or ignore what is causing them to feel that way. It's again why Nintendo took the most basic form of creativity it could when it came to the actual gameplay creativity versus aesthetic creativity. Terraforming and ledges and all that is very simple to do. The choices are very simple and straight to the point. Anyone can do it because of how simple it is. When it comes to the custom designs and all that is when it's no longer easy for anyone to do. That's where I feel this game really shines in the image Nintendo wanted to do. The fact people have made crazy towns all from custom design paths, even clothes, wallpapers, etc. really shows when you give someone the right tools with only a little bit of limitations, they can make something amazing. It also really helps how not tedious the tools to make the designs are to use. It's weird how the custom designs are harder to master but faster to use, while the terraforming is simpler to use but so slow and feels like a waste of time. It's hard to want to be creative with your tools that you have when the tools themselves waste your time. I also know not everyone will make these crazy designs, and it's obvious aesthetic creativity isn't the biggest selling point over the terraforming mechanic. That's why you have to keep the main aspect of your game when it comes to the idea of limitless creation as limited and simple as possible to understand and use. Think of Dreams or Mario Maker. Both have builders in them for creating. Mario Maker is a little easier to use but hard to master, and both take a lot of creative thinking to not just build a level with enemies everywhere or build an awful controlling game. While Dream has more tools and a harder learning curve, you can still master it with time and dedication, and the game helps you learn the builder while also not wasting your time with making learning slow and boring, which, by not having it slow or boring, inspires creativity and the want to be creative. Something that's also good about these two games is both of these games still have a place for people who just want to enjoy what is made for them and not have to be creative. Mario Maker and Dreams are still worth the purchase without ever making anything in them. I, however, just can't say the same for Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing New Horizons sadly isn't a game you can really buy and not be creative whatsoever, because the game is designed around hoping you will be creative. This is why a lot of things suffer or take a back seat now for the creative part of the game. Nintendo really put a lot of time into this part of the game, and you can see how other things suffered for it, especially when the updates start rolling in. Let's look at it this way, if you still need more reasoning as to what I'm talking about. If we do decide to take away the creativity and only focus on the Animal Crossing aspect we've grown to love and know, we are sadly left with the most tedious island adventure ever. Villagers are the most copy and pasted characters I've ever seen. Every jock character wants to work out and will make sure you know, while every lazy villager wants to eat and nap. It's so boring now to interact with any of them, especially if they're the same personality, because more likely than not, they will just tell you the same thing the other one said. I've seen people say a way to avoid this is to just have multiple personalities in your island, but I've done this before and still have the same villager repeat the same lines to me. I also felt in New Leaf, even when I ran into a villager with the same personality type as another, they still were written well enough for me to see differences in each of them and still feel like their own person. I think the best example of a villager that is ruined in this game is none other than Isabelle herself. I know I'll get some hate for this, but hear me out. In New Leaf, Isabelle is someone everyone could fall in love with and actually was essential to New Leaf's story and progression. She had character, charm, and purpose. In New Horizons, she had all of that charm and character reduced down to stereotypical office person. She legit adds nothing to this game at all, except it's her and that's it. Yeah, she does have some options that are good to have, like town theme and ordinance. She also has an option though to complain about a villager that, as far as anyone knows what it does, it just resets nicknames and clothes. If you really want to stand by and tell me how important she is to the game, then my question for you is this. If we removed her from New Horizons and replaced her with anyone else, would much change? This is how you know if a character is important to the media you're making. If the absence of said character could make the thing you're making not work anymore, then you have a good character. Isabelle doesn't do that in this game anymore. It's obvious she was just brought back because people liked her and that's it. This is why I just feel she's so bare bones and ruined now. You can still do stuff with your villagers, but it's not much. Doing tasks for villagers at best just results in finding a lost item or bringing them something for a present. You can give them gifts, and sometimes you will see them later on wearing said gift or putting it into their house. That's usually the closest connection you both will have. The other options are fishing and insect finding, or bell grinding. Basically just build the shops and places while filling the museum and complete Nook Mile tasks. That's really it for the main island. You can travel to mystery islands that end up almost always looking the same. This, however, is your main way of getting villagers, and I don't hate this aspect, but I just wish they did more with the campsite you get for villagers later on. Barely anyone ever visits these, and when they do, you play a short minigame with them, and that's really it. They never even leave the tent while they're there. You can ask them to move in or replace a villager, but again, more likely than not, you're better off grinding for villagers you want with the mystery islands. That being said, you get to these islands by doing things around the island to earn Nook Mile points to buy Nook Mile tickets. This is this game's way of making you do busy work and feel rewarded to do the busy work. I don't hate this, since sometimes I'll get rewarded for doing things I was already going to do, but it does feel like a big pace breaker to have to keep checking your phone over and over, and I wish villagers would text you or be able to call you to give the phone more meaning to interact with them, but it doesn't. It's weird, I'm playing this to feel like I'm escaping, but half of my time is spent looking at the phone in the game, and the other half is spent looking at my real one because this game is boring. I also wish when you use your phone for the map, it would tell you where villagers are. This would make finding a certain one so much easier. There's still some interactions with villagers and stuff, like them singing songs, catching insects, or fishing, but they never will actually catch anything, so I don't know why they bothered even programming that in. Going back to how I felt when I got this game, even noticing all this stuff, I still was enjoying my time with the game, and I can say, it was doing a great job at keeping me busy and feeling accomplished. That's one thing I think this game does really well, is making you feel like you're doing something every day. With the Nook Mile points being a thing in this game, you really do feel like you're doing something every time you get rewarded, even if sometimes what you're doing is not really that big in the grand scheme of things. This game, however, needed more updates, but sadly we would have to wait for those to come. I did forget to mention the update at launch, the 1.1.0 update. What did this add, you may ask? Well, it added everybody's favorite event, the Bunny Day event. This trailer was shown off and even hinted at another update coming in April. Nintendo was showing that, hey, we're hearing you and now we're adding content for you. April comes by and I remember being excited for this Bunny Day event because it meant something to do, but boy oh boy, this event was not loved by everyone. The main issue was the egg drop rate was so high. The way you would also get eggs would be the same way you would get anything else in the game, like fossils, clay, fish, meaning that this already tedious game just became 10 times worse because Bunny Man here keeps leaving his eggs everywhere. Very often your task would just be harder because more often than not, eggs would be there instead of what you needed. There were also 6 types of eggs. Getting these eggs rewarded you with an egg DIY recipe, which all were ugly and no one really liked. It was so bad that Nintendo even lowered the spawn rate of eggs. The damage was sadly done. This event still happens, by the way, and no one still likes it. Another issue was this event also went into another event that was actually really cool. The Sakura or Cherry Blossom event is a really fun time. Even the DIY recipes are really cool in this, and some of my favorite in the game. My favorite recipe being these lanterns. I really love the pink and just how soft everything looks on it. This is how you should do an event. What's also good about this event is the cherry blossoms never got in the way of doing anything, and while you were exploring, it was just really pretty to see them floating around in the wind. Even some trees and stuff were also pink. This still, in my opinion, was one of my favorite times playing. I remember just staying up late collecting so many of these so I could have all the DIY recipes. If Nintendo keeps the events like this, then I can really see this becoming a more lived in game. Also, that same month, we got the update Nintendo promised. The Earth Day update added a new NPC in a shop. This NPC is Leaf. She sells bushes and flowers, mostly so you can decorate. Even Red comes back with his black market shop of art, which then opened up a new area for the museum, adding art to collect into the mix of other things for the museum. We also got some new events like Nature Day, May Day, International Museum Day, and Wedding Season. Overall, this update was a pretty big moment for the game since it was giving us some more stuff to do and ways to decorate more for the island. I don't remember much of these events, but it was nice they were being added. Overall, we wouldn't see much for updates till around July, but we did get a little trailer in June. I sadly did stop playing before June because of my personal life and stuff with my ex at the time, so I did miss out on a lot of these updates till later on, but I'll still cover these. In July, we were getting Wave 1 for the summer update. We're now able to swim and dive, which would be cool if this wasn't a base thing New Leaf had already. The people reacting really couldn't hold their nut in for this though, I guess.
No way.
What?
Oh my god.
You're joking.
You can swim in the ocean?
Look at that, dude. The ocean opens up. Woo, doggy.
What? You can dive.
Oh, it's like the last game. Okay.
Jesus, man. Animal Crossing fans are down bad when an update adding in past things that were in a base 3DS game makes them this excited. What Zero
Animal Crossing content
does to a motherfucker. We even got new places for the sea creatures we find while diving. To be honest, more stuff to find for the museum, the better, at least for me. That's one of my favorite things to do in these games. Pascal is an NPC that trades DIY recipes for scallops. Overall, cool if you want more things to craft, but I really forget he's in the game even to this day. He just kind of shows up when you find a scallop for the first time, so he's one of the easier ones to trigger if you want to see him. Gulliver, but now he's red, is another NPC that can show up and it's basically the same as regular Gulliver, so honestly this really didn't probably take much time to do at all. Gulliver in this though is already kind of boring enough. And I just also realized I never mentioned him, so making this quick, random events like the Ghost or Gulliver can happen. Each of these just kind of come down to you looking for things around the island, and then you give it back to them, and then they give you a gift for doing it. You do get some cool furniture from Gulliver, which I really like, and the Ghost can give you cool stuff here and there, and he does offer an option for expensive stuff, but every time I've chosen this, the thing was worth almost nothing, so I don't know, but that's it. Moving on. August arrives and we get the Summer Wave Update 2. This update adds fireworks shows every Sunday in August, which, yeah, I'm a fan of anything exploding related, so I'm down for this. Red also has a raffle thing he does now, so that's cool. A lot of new items to play with and stuff were also added, which more cool things to wear, I'm all for. I really feel these updates hit harder when it's things normal AC would profit or improve from. Items and stuff are always a plus when it's with other things being added. Another nice thing is the fact you can make custom firework designs. I really love this a lot, even if I can't make anything interesting. The final addition to this update is the Dream World with Luna. This is neat, but not something I care much for, and it's also another thing from New Leaf, so cool. This allows you to visit anyone's island at random. If this sounds like fun to be able to basically teleport to randos islands, then yeah, this is for you. Nothing you take from these islands will come back with you though, so don't waste your time. Oh, we also got an island backup restoration service, but not really gameplay changing when it comes to the game itself. Wave 2 was way better in my opinion over Wave 1 by a long shot. We're also getting another update showing this weird pumpkin guy. I wonder what that can mean. September comes around, and on September 30th, this update is dropping. Halloween is here. You can buy candy, dress, and decorate in a spooky theme for your town. Pumpkins are now here as well and can be grown for DIY recipes. Some spooky skin tones are also added, which is nice if you want to be blue for the day. Jack is an NPC that will show up on Halloween night. Your villagers will also even dress up, which is really cute. I love this. Ending this update off, we have this new thing where now you can do reactions way easier with your smartphone. I'm honestly though getting tired of companies trying to make me use my phone more for their games, to be honest. It really feels like a pace breaker every time you have to pull your phone out to do something in the game, even if it's small things like this. We're finally given another date for a new update. This update is coming late November. On November 19th, 2020, we get the new winter update. Woo! These fucking updates are so bad. This update basically adds Turkey Day / Thanksgiving Day. Franklin also comes, which I don't know how to feel about this whole event with Franklin here. Does he not know what Turkey Day is? What's cool is he will cook things for you if you bring him stuff. And if I'm correct, this was before cooking was added. So that's kind of cool, honestly. Then there's Toy Day, basically this game's Christmas with Jingle here. You also get the ability to be Santa and bring your villager things. 6 new hairstyles are added, plus more reactions. I barely use these reactions though, but it's nice to see them being added for people that do. I really do like the sit down one though, that's pretty cool. We also got hair for black people, which I love this addition because hair for black people is always lacking in games like this. We'll get to that one later. Also, my favorite addition for the hairs is the fact you can actually be bald. Bald usually is never an option for people, so it's nice to finally give those shiny-headed people a great way to represent themselves.
So have you ever done DMT?
Storage also was upgraded from 1,600 to 2,400. I welcome this change a lot. Finally, one of my favorite things that they added is the save data transferring, which this has really been needed. It's still dumb though, it's 1 game per Switch, but at least we have this as an option now. The trailer ends with another update for late January. January 28 drops the new festival update. It's pretty and I love Pave's design, mostly because I think peacocks are badass. You can even collect feathers to bring to her, and she will dance. Honestly, not the biggest update, but I really love when villagers dress up for stuff. It really makes you forget how boring they are for just a second, doesn't it? The trailer ends with a new update coming in March with Mario-related things. This update was shown off in a Nintendo Direct and it features Super Mario themed items for your island. This was pretty meh. Like, this really was whatever, honestly. I like the warp pipe for using it to get around the island, but this still feels very tacked on and boring. Also, I heard having a lot of these items will make your game lag really bad. The update comes on the 25th. Overall, not that big of a deal, at least for me. This, however, made me really excited about what other crossovers would come our way. And hey, guess what? We did get another. On February 25th, the Sanrio collaboration update was announced and would arrive March 25th. I thought this was new content, but it's a recycled event that they already did in the past. So cool. This allows you to get basically retextured skins for your villagers to look like Hello Kitty characters, followed by Hello Kitty related furniture and outfits. I personally love the furniture and outfits, but the fact that the characters are retextured and not officially them really sucked. I mean, New Leaf even had crossover characters like Wolf Link, Epona, and Ganondorf, so why couldn't they do this for this game? Also, you get these by buying the amiibo cards to scan into the game, which we'll cover a little bit later on. Finally, we reached the last major update for this game. This is Update 2.0, available November 5th, 2021. This was supposed to make the game good again to some people. It was supposed to finally make the game back to what people wanted it to be, the savior of all updates. What did they add to achieve this, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. They basically ported a bunch of stuff for New Leaf and called it a day. Just like every other update. That being said, let's go over this final major update. The museum finally gets a new room, and what do you know, it's Brewster in his roost. It's nice to see him back, honestly. He's probably one of the most chill villagers in the game. Other villagers will visit as well, and the amiibo cards and figures will make them come depending on who you use. Cap is also back, and he's basically a cheaper way to visit Mystery Islands. You can't use him to find villagers though. You can get new flora and other stuff here if that interests you. It even can take you to islands at different times or seasons. If fast traveling wasn't so easy to do, then this would have been a big deal for people that don't want to wait for so long to get certain things. Harv got a needed upgrade to his island. It allows you to open up shops with villagers that are usually random in appearing, which I like, but also don't. On one hand, it's nice to have an easy access to them, and you do have to pay bills to even get them there, so there is some process to even doing this. On the other hand though, it ruins the excitement of them showing up and a reason to log in to even check for them. Like, it feels nice to find them because you know some rare items can be bought, but now I have to basically fly to more shops in another area, which again adds more tedious time wasting when they could have just been connected to the main island. I will say some shops have more purpose, but my opinion still stays the same on this. Just bring them to the main island at this point. I don't see why they're not there. They also added group stretching, which all I can say is I really hope not much dev time went into this. I mean, it's at least some way to give your villagers more life into them, but it really just feels so pointless. Island ordnance are added, which I like, especially for more of a morning or night person. I thought this was new though, but it's just another feature in New Leaf, and I didn't know that till now. Not against it being here, but at the same time, I just don't care all that much for this. One thing I really do love is the new house exterior designs. This has to be one of my favorite things for the houses. I really love this feature a lot. Storage got a new upgrade to now hold 5,000 items. New Nook Mile items like cooking with DIY, which big fan of cooking in any game. We also get a bunch of new ingredients to farm for. You can even display food just to display it if you want. Next up is the Pro Decorating license, which now lets you add lighting and ceiling decor. You can even give a wall a single pattern to have accent walls now. Again, as said before, anything letting me change my house, I love. More inclines and bridges per island now. We can now do 10 instead of 8, plus even more fencing types are being added for decorating. One of the more interesting additions is the Pro Camera app. The fact you can now technically go first person is kind of crazy. It really gives the game a strange feeling that I love. I always love photo modes in games, to be honest with you. It's also how I got a bunch of cool shots for the Ghostwire video thanks to a photo mode. You can also wear patterns and use them for wallpapers and flooring. These patterns were used for items only before, but now you can use them on anything basically. 11 hairstyles and 11 reactions are also being added. Even more furniture is also being added, plus a storage shed that connects to your home storage and a fucking ATM, boys. KK now comes every Saturday to play music. We even get more songs from him in the game. You basically talk to him and ask him to play a song. However, if you're like me, you misspell the song twice and he just plays something at random. Music box are also added, which now turns any of his songs into a music box rendition of it, so that's cool. Gyroids finally make their appearance in New Horizons, and you basically water them and they grow. There's a pretty good amount of them, and they make sounds to your music you play. I was given this guy, and it's the only one I've ever gotten to this day. I love the fact now that they all have this unique look to them, and they also have their own sounds to boot. This is probably the only time I'll say this, how this game improved heavily on a feature. Nook's Cranny now gets more furnitures, but still has no more spots, so who cares? Ladders can now be permanently placed down anywhere, which just shows Nintendo knows the tools are tedious if this was added. You can also move through narrow spaces easier, which... Why is this not in base game? I don't understand! This next edition, I think, is the dumbest thing ever to be added later on, and just not having it in the base game from the start. The fact villagers can invite you or invite themselves to your home. This was added more than a year after the game came out. How are you going to defend this? Every time, by the way, a villager would come to my house and just leave in less than 20 seconds, so I hate this feature. They're still going to add very small updates, but boy, oh boy, this was kind of a letdown for me. Overall, what do I think of all these updates? I love and also don't care for a lot of it. It's really sad when a lot of these newest additions are just past base game things we had before. I can't really get excited when I could have already been doing these things on another system that I can take on the go. It's also weird some of the newest additions are there to counter the tedious process from base editions they added. Nintendo literally knows how tedious this game can be and just chose to add workarounds for you to do if you wanted to do them instead of reworking the whole system that they built. I think also the worst thing about these free updates is the fact that there will be a day where Nintendo servers are just gone. Meaning if you bought this game after that, you will never get these updates, and it's just sad. BDSP is another game like this where once the servers are gone, you literally won't be able to get the real music, the opening or ending movies, and a full section of the end game. This is why this whole free update thing just kills me every time Nintendo does it, because one day, we're not going to be able to play these games anymore with the content that they gave us later on, because there will be no way to add the content later on. Unless we figure out a way to add update files to real hardware, we're basically fucked when it comes to this. But Nintendo being Nintendo, finally realized, well, with the last free update out of the way, let's decide to start making them pay for shit. And so they did. Happy Home Paradise is the first paid DLC we got for $24.99. I love and also don't care for this. I love designing houses the most in Animal Crossing, and this does feel worth $24, being able to decorate the inside and even the outside of the houses. You can even decorate restaurants and add ambient sounds to them, so it's not just houses in this. It even gives us a bunch of new ways to decorate, like ceiling lights, the lighting itself, and partition walls. Polishing is a new thing they added, which makes things sparkle now or do random little effects. Now, the main issue with this is the fact Nintendo did do something really scummy, and I know this was done to make this feel more worth it. You remember how I said the houses had an easy way to move stuff around, so why couldn't the terraforming or outside furniture placement have this? Well, we did get that, but it's locked behind the DLC. I think it's time to move on to the infamous community this game formed. I'll also cover the multiplayer in this section as well, since it's part of the community. Animal Crossing is known very well for its multiplayer. The Wii version even had a thing you could buy for voice chat. I think my favorite memories are in New Leaf just hanging around with friends. It's legit why I think I really love Animal Crossing. It's also such an easy game to just join up with people. That being said, what the fuck did they do to New Horizons multiplayer? This is one of the most boring, bare bones experiences I've ever had. It's like they legit said, let's remove everything you can do and just have it now where you're basically forced to do nothing. If you're wondering what you can do together, well, here's the list. You can fish, catch bugs, fossils, take fruits, exchange items, pop balloons together, visit villagers in your houses, post messages on the board, use their shops, the roost, museum, swim and dive, and run around. The issue with multiplayer is the fact you can't progress or move anything around whatsoever. The game comes to a screeching halt with someone there. I get not being able to make drastic island changes like a new house getting built or moving inclines, but like, why can't I just move something I put outside around? Why can't I drop off fishes or anything to the museum? Strangely enough, you can edit your house, but they have to be outside when you do it. You also can't pick anything up or put anything down unless you pick it up or place it in leaf form. One of the strangest things is the fact you can't share fish or insects, but can give fossils if dropped in the fossil sprite form. You can't even give people fish or whatever locally when you're with someone with another Switch. I just don't get this at all. You can't even visit mystery islands with friends. There's also no minigame islands. It's so bad people had to make their own islands and host minigame stuff just to have something New Leaf gave us at launch. This multiplayer usually just ends up with people running around doing nothing and then playing the instruments you usually have. Legit, I can only remember one time I enjoyed multiplayer, and that came from the fact I was in a Discord with people and streaming. I legit just can't find much about the multiplayer I like. By all means, it's not the worst multiplayer in games I've seen, but man, it's just boring. It also is tedious as hell to even get anyone on your island, and if someone joins while you're with others, the game forces you to stop so you can watch them land on the island every single time. If you also have a menu open when someone is trying to arrive or leave, it legit just won't let them do it. It's to the point where sometimes it's just faster to turn your Switch off. Then there's again the newest addition, local multiplayer, which supports up to 8 people per island. This is the most underused addition, and it also is why most things were cut in the game. You see, we all know how this game can lag when there's many things on an island. Well, because of local, you can have up to 8 player homes plus 10 villager homes. This is why we barely have any shops anymore. It's also why the shops we did get got moved to Harv's Island, because that doesn't require loading the main island. I know this because Brewster in the last game had his own building. Now he's in the museum. Granted, he was in the museum before in past games, but it's weird to go from a building to now having him back in the museum. Nintendo designed this local multiplayer so players could share an island together and make it a group thing. It's why we're stuck with one island per Switch, by the way. This was supposed to incentivize you to play with your family. The local multiplayer when playing with people allows 4 players in one map, but this also lags the game. You're also not able to, as the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th player, to make any progress for the map. Even if you're the only one playing, any story progress has to be done with whoever booted up the Switch and loaded the game first. Which just makes me think, why did Nintendo care so much about the local so badly to make other parts suffer to then limit what can even be done locally? It really is such a feature no one cares about that impacted the game more than people know. I'm sure once Nintendo realized having all the houses on the map plus other shops that probably were there in an early state would lag the game badly, it's why they got pushed back. I also could probably see how tedious moving all the extra shops plus 18 houses would have just killed players and overwhelmed them, which we mentioned before. Nintendo wanted to avoid that as much as possible. It's also why I'm pretty sure the stuff we did get in updates were halted to work on these 2 things and make them run well or as well as they could. I'm pretty sure Nintendo also knew how bare bones this game was going to be at launch, and even while making it. I'm just glad that Nintendo didn't just say, well, enjoy and leave it at that. That's the experience, sadly, with multiplayer for me, but what would a multiplayer be without its beloved community, which boy oh boy, is this community something. The community history for this game is some crazy shit. Like, this game has had presidents of the USA talk about it. This section is going to cover a lot of the weird or bad side of the community, but let it be known, this is the worst from it and shouldn't be seen as how everyone should be represented. I have to say this because I know some of you will just assume everyone is like this. Let's talk the amiibo cards. Oh boy, did these things end up almost becoming impossible to find. It was crazy when these got announced just to see them start skyrocketing in price. Technically, these were around since Amiibo Festival, but didn't really take off till this game. The cards now are a little more easier to find and more affordable, excluding some still being in the $100 range. Luckily, the drama for this has easily died down since the fall of the player base. Now we can talk about the Hello Kitty crossover cards. These amiibo cards were released as a crossover event as stated before, and at launch these were pretty hard to find as well, mostly because of how they were distributed. Unlike previous amiibo stuff, these ended up being exclusive to Target and you couldn't just go to the store and get them. You had to use Target's stupid app to even order them for store pickup. There was no other way except this method to even order them at the time, meaning either bots ordered them all right away or some stores just had barely any in stock. The app also had many issues with even showing that the items weren't even available when they were. Again, it was just a shit show. Now you can walk into about any Target right now and find these cards, so cool. Prices also have gone way down for these as well, since they can easily be found in stores. I doubt we will see any more amiibo cards being released for this game, which may be for the best since how badly these were handled, but being fair, this seems to be an issue for amiibos as a whole. This is where the community kinda got insane. Thanks to Nookazon, you were finally able to sell things to people or trade in-game bells or items and even villagers. It was a nice, easy way to really find something you wanted right away. I'm okay with this overall, but what I'm not okay with was selling villagers for real money. Mostly this cat right here.
Let me go in the bathroom, I don't care if it's employees only. Let me the fuck in. I'ma shit my pants, bitch, I'm about to shit my pants. I'ma shit my pants, bitch, I'm about to shit my pants. I'ma shit my pants, bitch, I'm about to shit my pants. I'ma shit my pants, bitch, I'm about to shit my pants. I'ma shit my pants, bitch, I'm about to shit my pants. I'ma shit my pants, bitch, I'm about to shit my pants. I'ma shit my pants.
I don't get what was so big about this cat, but as soon as the maid outfit was on, the internet stormed into a frenzy to get him. People were selling their left nuts for this guy. Prices sometimes could be from $50 to $200. One of the biggest issues with this as well was the fact ramen you were buying, and even on Nookazon, was either duped or hacked in, meaning he was a fake and you got scammed. I really don't get why he and a few other villagers were held on a pedestal of how great they were, but yeah, it's just a nerd cat. Overall, I kinda hate the fact these villagers who are supposed to be our friends were being sold. Imagine you wake up to learn your best friend sold you and now North Korea is your new home. One of the weirdest issues was the bullying of people's islands and villagers because they weren't cute. For a community who's supposed to regard themselves on being woke and progressive, you sure bully people for not fitting a standard. Your island could get shit on just for the fact of having an ugly villager. It came to the point where basically almost every island had the same villagers on it because they were the cute ones. Again, it's their game and they can play how they want, but the bullying really wasn't needed. I'll also throw in some small ones here as well, like how China banned Animal Crossing after launch for anti-Chinese propaganda, or how Biden had his own island but was soon removed by Nintendo themselves. They did this to basically any political thing in the game, which I'm all for. This is a game about hanging with my cool hamster friend, not who am I gonna vote for. Nintendo was also banning BDSM clothes made by users, which then caused them to get upset over the fact they couldn't have their BDSM sex clothes in a children's game. You could even go to an island to be someone's little bell bitch, bro, what the fuck? Articles were written on this talking about how it's a nice way for gamers to dip their toes into being dominated. Bro, this is a fucking kids game. There was so much just porn being made in this game, like straight up art porn of the characters. No, honestly, not even just art porn. There was a girl who was legit selling her nudes on Animal Crossing. Like, this community is fucking wild, bro. Funny enough, there's a penis in the game that's on an art statue, so that's cool. There's even a pacifier which you can buy. This is a fetish item. Like, come on. This is straight up a fetish item for people. I don't care what anybody fucking says. I think it's finally time to talk about the big controversy, even one that Nintendo of UK came out to defend the person involved. The space buns. Shown previously in one of the updates, we finally got hair for black people, which again, I'm glad since they always seem to get screwed in the cosmetic parts of games. However, little did anyone know how much issues this would have caused. A Twitter user decided to make a tweet with her wearing afro puffs, which she decided to call space buns. Twitter decided to take actions into their own hands and deal with this person in the most calm and respectful way possible, because what she was doing wasn't okay in their eyes. What did Twitter do? Tweet her and ask her to respectfully change the hair or educate her on what the hairstyle actually was. They sent death threats, doxed her, and called her racist. A lot of people were basically saying the black people hair in the game shouldn't be worn by anyone not black, and that Nintendo only added it for black people. Nintendo UK did end up talking about this, and they stated this: "Thank you for reaching out to Nintendo UK customer support regarding your game's query. I am really sorry to hear that you had those issues. It continues in-game content such as clothes, hairstyles, etc. are meant for every human being, no matter what race, age, etc. Therefore, we would advise you not to let other people's opinions affect you and enjoy your game as long as it is with good intention." The email concludes, "Should you have any more queries, please do not hesitate in contacting us. I wish you a great day." This seemed like an issue that was blown out of proportion and could have been handled way better. It, however, just seems weird to tell other people you can't decorate your character and customize how you want because some things should only be for certain people, especially when this game has many different culture outfits that no one lost their minds over someone not being of that race using. For example, the samurai outfit is one that I see most people not even being Japanese using, including me, but never does anyone throw a shitstorm like they did for this. Real life versus the game is a whole other topic I don't want to dive into, but as for the game, I feel either we should allow everything to be okay to wear, or we should go all in on limiting what can be worn by who, since that would be fair. But again, that would also limit so much of the aspect the game does have going for it if we did that. I can't say even to this day, this hairstyle is still getting used by people to design their avatars, no matter what skin color their avatars have, which is what Nintendo wants. This community sadly can have its bad sides, but these aren't everyone. There's many good people who make great things, like there's a whole island dedicated to diabetes awareness. Again, these are just a few examples of the many things this community can do. That being said, I think it's time to go into our community section of the game and just hear people's thoughts and opinions on Animal Crossing and New Horizons as a whole. This can't be everything about New Horizons if we don't also hear from the community that made this game.
I haven't played the other games except New Horizons, but I remember it being all the hype in 2020, around peak pandemic. To be honest, Animal Crossing was one of the main reasons why I wanted to switch. I didn't get it until 2022, where it kinda died down. At first, I really enjoyed it and played it at a leisurely pace. But seeing other people's islands and learning about the time traveling mechanics made me want to grind it out and make that effort to have an island I could basically show off. And I say show off in terms of like, I put a lot of time into making it, not my island is better than yours. I don't really see the latter viewpoint in the community, but I can see how it could come across as that. Grinding it out though is a fast way to burn out, and I don't play as frequently anymore. I still love the NPC villagers though, but it amazes me the type of market that exists to sell and showcase them. But if that's how people want to enjoy their game, it's not my place to judge, to be honest. I just kind of do my own thing, play with friends, and enjoy the cuteness. But maybe that cuteness factor is really a consumer's biggest weakness.
New Horizons is a game that grows stale after a while because it feels like it has less features from the start compared to past games in the franchise. Nintendo has this shit habit of releasing an unfinished game and adding new content as time goes on by saying it adds value to the game and keeps it relevant. There's no excuse as to why things like holidays and the coffee shop have to be updates. Free or not, shit like that should have been in the game day one like every other game before it. The multiplayer is also really bland. New Leaf had fun minigames you could play with friends, while New Horizons has nothing. Would it kill them to add some games like treasure hunting or balloon popping again?
New Horizons is an alright game for what it is, but the whole content getting added later is kind of fucking dumb. But at least it's there. It got stale super fast though, and I do regret buying it, but that's just me.
I started playing Animal Crossing when I was in the 6th grade. I got my first ever console, a Nintendo DS, for Christmas. A friend at the time let me have her Wild World game, and I had never heard of Animal Crossing before this, but the moment I inserted that game cartridge, I was hooked. When New Horizons was announced, I was thrilled. It had been, 7, 8 years since New Leaf had come out on the 3DS. I didn't even own a Switch, but I bought one for this game. You know how some people have special connections to shows, characters, and games? Animal Crossing is mine. It was there for me since I was 11. Every day before school, I'd log in and check in on my favorite villagers. So I can't really explain the happiness and excitement I felt when I finally got this game. I spent pretty much any time I could playing the game. First of all, the visuals are so different from the previous games. I think pixelated looking games have a certain charm to them, but it was nice to see an update on their look. In New Horizons, you can make your island however you want, and the previous games didn't really have that besides flowers and trees. When I was figuring out how I wanted to decorate my island, my favorite thing to do was look at what other people did with theirs. I saw Zelda, Circus, Western, Cottagecore, and more. One thing that I noticed right away with New Horizons is the dialogue change. Talking to your villagers got a little boring, a little too fast. It's so repetitive. I miss the sassy little comments that they used to make in the previous games. I feel like they used to have so much more personality. Hated a villager? You could just push them around until they pissed off. I feel like New Horizons got old really fast. It came out during quarantine, so it was all I did for a while, but after 2 months, it started to slow down. I also remember when it came to a lot of the stuff/characters that weren't included. Brewster? Missing. It wasn't until their next big update that they got added in. I do think the update brought people back in again, but not for too long. I feel like once you finish your island and you have all your dream villagers, there isn't much to do. Like I said previously, the dialogue is so repetitive, it's not really something that makes you want to check in every once in a while. I'm not sure if you want to mention the DLC, but personally, I love it. There were a couple times I got stuck on what I wanted to do with my island, and the DLC helped me come up with new ideas. It's a nice break from the traditional Animal Crossing task. I do think it's kind of not cool that you can only unlock some furniture from the DLC. Froggy chair? Since everyone isn't able to buy it.
The biggest issues that plagued New Horizons is when it launched and what it was aiming to achieve compared to other Animal Crossing titles. It launched at a time that theoretically was perfect timing for a very sandbox-heavy game, but as this generation of Nintendo has been dealing with game content, launch first, update second. While this burden isn't exclusive specifically to New Horizons, Nintendo has hurt this game the most with it. Not to mention, this title compared to other titles had more focus on creativity over the actual content. While this isn't a pertinent issue, it's the fact that it launched with less content than New Leaf did at launch, while focusing more on players' own creative input. It's not to say creativity can't be given to player right out the gates, but more on the matter of giving them the tools to do so now rather than wait on them later. While I do appreciate the free content they did continue to add, be it the new or returning, excluding the NSO subscription locked Happy Home Designer content, it was a bit too late to cater to the remainder of the player base. I still enjoy New Horizons, but I'm more likely to return to Wild World and or New Leaf.
There were a ton of people who loved the game at launch, and a bunch of my friends would not stop talking about it. I wanted to give it a go. This is one of my first games, and one of the main reasons I did buy a Switch to begin with. Overall, I really liked the game. It was really cute to be able to DIY your character as well as the animals. It's great that I'm able to design and customize my house, and it's fun to explore other islands and get new things for them. I love the diving and fishing and being able to catch different types of bugs. There are a few things I did find annoying, so when it comes to fishing, I feel like there's lag when you try to catch your fish. It also takes a really long time to build the village, and you have to save up a lot of money in order to actually start making development in your village. It's also kind of annoying that when you visit a transition in different places, it takes a really long time to load. Another thing that's kind of annoying is that when you're playing co-op, only one of the people have certain features. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it well, but hopefully you know what I mean. One final thing is that it's really hard to customize shirts for your character. Overall though, the game's alright, and I play most because I want to finish all the tasks, and all the characters are cute. I'd recommend my friends to play it, and I'm excited to try the other versions.
I'm trying to remember like more stuff about like the beginning of the game. I just remember getting terraforming and realizing the entire map's on a grid. So that's when it was like, okay, this is kind of odd. And then how slow terraforming was, and how like monotonous it got. And I'm already noticing that this game is just lacking in content. So I think I'm in the middle of April, so I'm during the Cherry Blossom Festival, and I'm doing all this stuff. Well, yeah, there's cool new items, like the Cherry Blossom items are cool, and you know all that other stuff. But I'm already noticing that like when they announced that the Easter was going to be like an event, like a downloadable like update, I got a little concerned because that makes me think, oh, what if the rest of the holidays are also these downloadable updates? I time traveled all the way to Christmas, and I realized that nothing happened. It was just some regular day. So I saved it. I went to Halloween. Nothing. So I went back to April, and I was still playing, and I was finishing up the status saying, you know, I don't think it's missing a lot of things, like sets. Some of the sets that have been in the game since day one, consistent throughout the entire franchise, are just missing. And the reason why I started to notice that is they replaced like the lovely set with like this other pink new art set, and they were called like somewhat similar things. So I was like, okay, if this is not in the game, then I'm very certain that a lot of the other sets aren't going to be in the game. And I've noticed that for a couple other sets too, like some of the older sets, there's like 1 or 2 items or something from it. And that's why I really wanted to get the strategy guide, so I pre-ordered right away, and then it kept getting delayed months and months and months. I think I got it in May, when it was supposed to come out in February or something, or early March. It was supposed to come out with the game, I think, because I wanted to see what items were in the game and whatnot. But by the time the strategy guide came out, the game was like way past updated. So the strategy guide was immediately outdated, like the moment it arrived. It also doesn't help that like half the NPCs are missing. Obviously, like the holiday NPCs. And then you have, I mean, they started adding them later on, which is cool, I guess. But like Gracie, missing completely, you know? But I'm saying that they cut like so many of these like ones, because I would look up new, like when we looked at the data mine, everybody was like, oh my god, they cut like 150, 200. And so I made this post, and I'm like, guys, this game has like nothing in it. Like it just feels like a bare bones, watered down Animal Crossing that's pretending to be Animal Crossing. It has half the content, maybe not even half the content, like a third of the content that the rest of the games have. And I was just not happy with it, because I was like, I'm already at terraforming, I'm already all doing this stuff, I'm already planning my actual village, and I'm noticing all of this stuff that's missing. Oh, there was no gyroids in the game and all that at that point, which were like a staple in the rest of the franchise. And all of these people who are commenting were like, man, come on, man, we're only on the first week, dude. You don't know how much content's in the game. And I said, I'm already in April, dude. Like, I'm already this far ahead. I don't care about waiting. I'm not playing the game, you know, by waiting. I'm playing the game how I want to play it, and I'm noticing how much content's in the game. There's no even holidays. I already skipped to these holidays. There's nothing here. And they're like, oh, it's too early to tell, man. You don't know that for a fact. And then we had that Easter event, the stupid event, and how they're spamming eggs and everything everywhere. And after the event ends, I go back. I'm already in like early May, I think, at this point in my game. and I see a post on Facebook that's being shared around about this guy saying how there's like no content in Animal Crossing. And the same people who were telling me that, oh, dude, you gotta wait, it's too early, they're all agreeing with him. And I said, where were all of you? I said this a month or something ago, and you all disagreed with me. And now that, one Easter event came in, you guys are all agreeing with him? So the house, in New Leaf, each of the other rooms started off 4x4, and you paid to upgrade them to the 12x12, I think it is. I don't remember exactly what the exact dimensions are the houses, but each room became huge. Some weird reason decided to only have all of the side rooms be tiny and not upgradable. And then the upstairs and the downstairs were like a complete different shape altogether. I also don't know if the Feng Shui what's that feature kind of still is around. There's actually Feng Shui for New Horizons. It says the general principles of Feng Shui are placing green furniture in the south, red furniture in the east, yellow furniture in the west, and so your Feng Shui score is calculated. Make sure all of them is appropriately placed. So that actually helps with your the house score. It's literally a hidden mechanic that nobody really knows about, but like you only learn about it if you have the strategy guide. A lot of the cool features in this game removed because they wanted the pathing and the terraforming. And I feel like they spent so much time on that they forgot about the rest of the game.
At the end of the day, this game still holds a special place in my heart. From the moments I shared with friends, the time I wrote myself a letter and sent it into the future in the game during my time with my ex saying, no matter what happens, at least you know you tried. And I remember when that relationship crumbled real hard and I was on my own again, I decided to open my game up and just read that letter. And it was late at night and I looked at the letter and saw that message and I cried. Because during that time, it was the first time that I finally felt like that I did give it my all and that I did try, and that what happened to me wasn't my fault. This game still holds one of my favorite times while streaming and fishing with friends.
Let me show you how this is done.
Give me that shit back! Like, get this fucking thing.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, okay. No.
That's a big one.
I swear to God, if you get the tuna, I'm done.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it, son.
Oh my god.
I told you, Papa gonna tell you how it's done. Yep.
Well, that is how it's done.
Yep. Oh, wait, I can't carry anything else. Shit, gotta let it go. A real fisherman knows when to let go.
Let that fucker go! You're fucking banned. You let that fucker go, you're banned. I even got a gaming article written about this clip by a page that probably doesn't speak English as their first language, but it's still really cool. I've never had an article before till now. I still do see the charm this game has, and I don't think this couldn't be someone's favorite game. There's so many things that also are just great about this game, from the amazing lighting and weather effects, the small little details like the way rain hits the water or how fish have this slimy look to them because of how they're wet. These fish models are just outstanding, and as someone who loves the ocean and fishes, it's nice to introduce some of these unknown fishes to people like the oarfish or the barrel eye. We even have my favorite sea creature, the giant isopod, so I'm sold. I even would love just going shopping for my GF and buying her outfits in the game just to take back to her island when she was just starting because she didn't have many outfits at the time. The clothes and the house designs are amazing, and I even love being able to decorate the whole island how I want. It's why we get so many amazing islands, with some pulling off cool effects that even Disney is known to do in their parks by making things look bigger than they actually are. The music, while not the best in the series, does have some bangers. Mine being 3am, to be honest with you. This song is what plays when you break your cock during sex. I also used to be such a fan of the old villager and animal designs. I always used to think that they were way better than this game's designs. While doing research for the video, I saw the old designs of the villagers and animals, and I'm gonna be honest, shit looks weird. I can say now without a doubt New Horizons has the best designed characters in all of the series and some of the best house decorating in all the series. Overall, I really do think this game isn't the worst game I've ever played, or even the worst in the series. That's still going to Amiibo Festival, but still. Again, this game is fun, and I do believe this game does have moments where it still feels like the old games. Like when you're just fishing or relaxing while KK is playing music or the radio is on, it just hits that home vibe that I really love. It's just sad. These good moments of the game are brought down by all these awful slow mechanics and tedious grinding to the point where sometimes it just never feels rewarding, or the fact we had to be spoon-fed for 2 years to feel like we got a full game, it's just really sad. At the end of the day, Animal Crossing is tedious and always has been, but it finds a way to make that tedium rewarding. Saving up for your house and fully paying it off to get the expansion is rewarding. Having to work hard to fill the museum up is rewarding. Having to make bait and stuff one by one and having your tools break all the time so you make a bunch to always have some on you while this takes up needed inventory space, it's tedious alright, but nowhere near rewarding. I really do think Nintendo did try to make this game good again. However, I also can see where Nintendo was realizing just how bad some of the new mechanics were and then adding workarounds to them. I don't think Animal Crossing is dead, but I do think Nintendo's going to have a hard choice on who it should make these games for now. The new fans who are going to love this game, or the old fans who want it back a certain way. Personally, I feel there's a lot this game could take with it in the new game, especially when most of the issues for these new mechanics are just the fact it needed more time to be thought out, and rid of a lot of the tedium while doing said mechanics. Crafting, I wouldn't mind in the future. Just not tools, please. Not tools. If anything, maybe crafting upgrades to tools or attachments that can break but don't break the equipment as a whole would be really cool. But just leave the tools alone, Nintendo. Drop the local multiplayer, honestly. No one uses it to the extent Nintendo wanted people to, or just let us have multiple saves per system. Most people at this point use local just to buy multiple stuff from the rare villager spawns. What's even worse now, this method just isn't needed anymore since they have their shops at Harv's anyways. Keep the unique designs of the gyroids, that shit is badass. Terraforming could still be a thing if most of the tedious process of doing it is removed, but if all else, just let us build paths and keep it back to the islands staying the old way but still letting us decorate outside. I think having the islands going back to how they were would make us be more creative because of the restrictions you give us. I really do think there's a lot this game could bring to the series, and why I wouldn't say this game should just be forgotten fully or ignored like Amiibo Festival. Finally, I want to give one final personal life experience this game helped me with, and I'll leave it at that. I used to own a kitten named Ringo, and he was our baby. He was a special cat we found at the pound who had a lot of trauma, but we worked with him and helped him through everything. Well, sadly, he did pass away. I remember how hard this felt since it felt like losing a child. Especially since we had to change his diaper since he couldn't control his bladder from the trauma. I ended up making this tribute to him, and this game, just like my first pet S'mores, helped me move on and let go of most of the hurt. My island also is named after him. I wanted to have this in a way dedicated to him. It's why I made the tribute video in the first place. It was to help give myself some closure from his passing. However, I sadly still held on to so much hurt from his passing even after that, so I think it's finally time to let go of this hurt. Just like this game, I think I'm ready to move on and remember the good memories that Ringo in this game brought me. I'll always still miss him, and I never would trade those moments for anything in the world, but it just goes to show how much this game can really do for someone. Ringo, wherever you are, we love you with all our hearts. And I'll always remember you. Rest in peace, Ringo. You're always going to be my sunshine. Thanks for watching, guys.